Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with my full review of the Spyderco Kapara. Yes, I did do a first impressions video like the day that I got it. I've used it in a couple comparison reviews, but last night it was pointed out to me on the live show that I have not done a full review of this. So I'm going to remedy that now, and I am because I have had this for over 2 months now. It gets a lot of pocket time. I really like it, and I do definitely have some more in-depth things to say than I had to say in the first video. Just as a recap, this is an Alistair Phillips design collaboration with Spyderco, Australian knife designer. It's made in Taichung, Taiwan. S30V, gorgeous carbon fiber, titanium pivot, the wire clip. It has the red backspacer because it is basically the production adaptation of Alistair Phillips' redback custom design. It's a little callback to that, which is pretty cool. Lanyard hole that is not in the way of the pocket clip placement, which is always like it when Spyderco manages to get that right. Really cool knife. I've very much enjoyed having it. It is ostensibly designed for food prep, but as many of us have discovered, it just makes a really good EDC. It's the food prep thing is nice, and it does work for that. We'll talk about that a little bit, but it's just a great EDC knife. It definitely is. Really liked having this thing around. Like having this thing around because this is mine, and it ain't going nowhere. I will say I was not planning on getting this initially. There were other late 18 Spyderco releases that I wanted more. I thought I wanted the amalgam more. I thought I wanted the smock more. The smock still isn't out, and the amalgam it turned out to be too big. I did get my hands on one. A buddy of mine bought one and let it pass through my hands before it got to him, and it's a fine knife, but it's just too big, and the flipper compression lock thing, yeah. So a bunch of people said they really liked this. A couple people I really respect, and so I bought one. And man, I'm very glad I did. It's a very cool knife. We will get more into that as we go on. Let's do some specs and size comparisons before we get too much farther. These are all half-inch squares. You have an overall length of 8¼ inches, blade length of 3.6 inches. You have a blade thickness of 0.11 inches, handle thickness of 0.5 inches, and a weight of 3.4 ounces. So not bad at all for a 3.6-inch blade knife. It's pretty light. Definitely below that 1 ounce to 1 inch blade ratio. Do some size comparisons. How does it compare size-wise to, say, your Paramilitary 2? It's pretty similar. It's just a little tiny skosh longer, but not very much. Try and line up the pivots here so you can really see. Just a little skosh longer in the handle. So obviously very good EDC size. Put it up against your Para 3 also, since that's just because that's tradition. A little bit longer than Para 3. The Kershaw bare knuckle. That was a snappy open in there, wasn't it? A little bit longer than the bare knuckle. And, lastly, we will do, just because I have it here, and I'm considering doing a battle to the death with these, because these are two knives that I debate between sometimes carrying them, but you can see blade length by ZTO 470. Blade length wise, cutting edge wise, they're fairly similar, but handle wise, the Kapara is a bit bigger. The ZT is more expensive. I don't know. We'll see if I do that or not. But now let's get more into this knife. Looks wise, that's the reason why I initially didn't want it. The looks of it didn't appeal to me. I didn't think it was hideous or anything, but it just didn't really strike me. But once I got it in hand, it looks so much better in person. Not just that it does the shape look better in person, this carbon is just gorgeous. And this is full carbon fiber. I know sometimes out of Taichung, Taiwan, you get the peel ply carbon, which I don't mind, but some people get really upset about. Like, it's right here. I've got one here that's this, like you see on the Sage 5. This isn't real. It's a carbon laminate over top of G10. So, but this is full carbon all the way through, and it's just beautiful, nicely contoured, and the feel of it just feels like very expensive carbon. That's one thing about this knife. As far as, we'll talk more in the end about the value. It only has S30V steel, and some people get upset about that, but the feel of it, just the quality feel of it, it feels like $188.50 knife. If I haven't said that, it is $188.50. Not an inexpensive knife. But just the feel of it, yeah, it does. It feels every bit of that when you have it in hand. That's one of the things I really like about it. It does just feel expensive and special. What also feels pretty special is this blade. Very thin blade stock, as I said, just 0.11 inches. And also, I'll do this right here. I don't know why I always make myself do this live on camera in front of you guys, and it always looks bad. Got right about 19 thousandths behind the edge, so not bad at all behind the edge. And it's a great little slicer. Like I said, it was designed for food prep, so it works really well. Full flat grind, up to not much. And as far as like cutting vegetables and things like that, it's a machine at it. It's really good, and that is one of the reasons why also there's no jimping on the blade while we're talking about that, because they don't want stuff to get in it. It is really kind of designed for that, and it works great. I actually carry this quite a bit. I carry it a lot almost every time I take my daughter to school, because there's this really awesome diner near her school. I'll drop her off, and then I'll swing by there. And it's run by these two crazy old Korean ladies who make me laugh a lot. But I always get steak and eggs, and their steaks aren't they taste good. They're a little tough, and their steak knives suck. So I always make sure I have the Kapara when I know I'm going there, because it is my go-to restaurant folding steak knife when they give me a crappy knife. So it does work very well for exactly what he intended it to. But it also works really well for just regular EDC tasks. And one of the things I like about it is the tip on it is pretty good. I mean, it's not a pry bar, but it's not nearly as dainty as, say, the PM2. Try and do them side by side here. As you can see, it's got a lot more heft to it in the tip than the PM2 does, which is really nice. So overall, I love the blade on this. It's just really, really good. Very much enjoy it. As far as the ergonomics, also very good. Again, no jimping. There's a justifiable reason for that. I do kind of wish that it did still have it here, though. I'd rather be cleaning food stuff out of that, because I don't use this for food prep a whole lot. I've used it enough to know that it worked good for that. I mean, I cut steak, but when cutting steak, I'm not getting all the way up into here. If you are, something's gone horribly wrong. But I do still kind of wish there was just a hint of jimping up here, just something light, like the jimping is on the Sage 5, which probably would be because it's Tai Chung, but it's not aggressive jimping at all in the Sage 5. And if it just had that little bit, just from like here to here, that would be a little bit better. But other than that, I have zero complaints ergonomically. It fits my hand very well no matter what grip I use it in. The wire clips almost never cause a hot spot, because if you're squeezing hard enough to cause a hot spot, they will bend a little bit. Not permanently, but they'll flex a little bit, I guess is a better word for it. But you can choke up, which is nice. It's just ergonomically, it's damn near perfection for my hands. Thin handle, but it's thick enough that I have really long fingers, and yeah, they're touching my palm, but they're not putting any pressure on it, It's ergonomically just excellent. As far as the carry goes, we have, again, that excellent wire clip, which I always like a lot. Some people don't like them, but I don't see why. They work pretty great. Carries pretty deep, hardly anything sticking out of there. You just got a little wire sticking out, and it carries very well. It's very slim in the pocket. Easy to get your hand past. No flipper tab to bother you or anything like that. Everything's nice and smooth. It carries like a dream. It carries way more than the PM2. That's one place that it just kicks the PM2's ass. It carries so much better than a PM2 does. Absolute sure. Now, deployment. Some guys I've seen say, I had somebody actually comment on it, well, it's a Tai Chung compression lock, it's never going to be a free dropper. I will say I have taken this apart. I've lubed it. I cleaned it and lubed it. I never polished any washers or anything crazy like that. And won't free drop my patootie. It definitely will. And I know Astasa, I just watched a video of his earlier today. His free drops like mad too. They will. The Kapara definitely will. I think he polished the washers on his, but I didn't even have to do that. Mine just did it just from taking it apart, lubing it up. That was it. Centering has remained perfect. It's just been good. It does have a bit, when we're talking about deployment, it's got a bit of that sharp spidey hole syndrome that all the Taichung ones seem to have, but not nearly as bad as some. Like I remember my Chaparral lightweight, I think it was particularly sharp. This one is not bad. It's a little bit, but it's not as smooth as, you know, like on the PM2 or any of the golden stuff, but it's not as bad as most of the Taichungs are. But I love it. Action's been great. Detent's perfect. Everything's remained perfectly as it was before. Yeah, and when I took it apart and cleaned it up, it wasn't dirty. It just didn't have much lube on it, which, you know, that happens. So here's where we're going to talk more in depth. How do I feel about this knife overall? I think this is a Spyderco future classic. I said that before in one of the other videos it's been featured in. Still feel that way. I think this is going to be what some of the other Taichung Spydercos, like the Domino, Chaparral, you know, the Sage 5, most of the Sage series, honestly, let's be honest. One of those knives that Taichung just nailed. And the Taichung Spydercos always have a bit of more prestige, I guess. Your Schliech buoy, stuff like that. I think this is right up with those. I really do. It's just an awesome design. It's light, super slim in the pocket. It's a pleasure to use. And it works great, not only for its intended purpose, but just for everything. For about any cutting task you can think of, it works fantastic. I mean, yeah, you don't want to go chop down trees with it, you know, but your normal EDC kind of stuff, it's fantastic. That price, though, $188.50. It's only S30V steel. That doesn't bother me. This has held an edge extremely well. I didn't do a cut test when I was talking about the blade, but we will here really quick. I mean, I've stropped it, yeah, but I don't think maybe I touched it up with a ceramic stone once, but that's been it. And it holds an edge perfectly well. There's no chipping, anything like that. Spyderco does a pretty good job with their S30V. I've never had it be super chippy or anything like that. So, yeah, if you're going just by stats, it's a bit disappointing. Do I wish it was, especially since this is a, a food prep knife, ostensibly, do I wish it was LC200? Yeah, that would be cool. But I'm not super upset about it. And like I said, other things make it feel like it's worth every penny of the $188.50. And it's something I think you're not going to realize until you actually touch one. I really think you have to touch it to really understand, or see one at least in person up close to really get it. I'm not going to say it's a bargain. It definitely is not a bargain. But I don't think it's a complete ripoff either, if that makes any sense. I don't think I'm much more upset about how much a Spyderco Shaman costs than I am about how much this costs, because there are a lot of things in this that make it feel like it's worth it. And other than those two little things, I do wish I had a little bit of jimping up here. And I wish that this was rounded off. I could do that in 2 seconds with a ceramic rod if I wanted to, but I'm a lazy human, so I haven't done it. But it's a great freaking knife. I'm loving this thing. And when I did my top 5 all-time EDCs the other day, I really debated between that or the PM2, which for me is high praise because I love the PM2. The PM2 eventually put in because I've had these for years. I've only had this for a couple months, so that was. And I know Stasa23 said almost the exact same thing on his video of the same theme. Was the only reason why it wasn't on there is because I haven't had it that long yet to really cement into that. But fantastic knife, fantastic design by Alistair Phillips. Yeah, it's damn near perfect. Little jimping. Oh, sharpening choil will be nice. Forgot to mention that. Little jimping, little sharpening choil. You know, Alistair Phillips has a video. He on his personal one, he put a sharpening choil on it. And I could do that too. if I wanted to. But I try and leave stuff as stock as I can because I'm a reviewer, and it's good to have stuff look stock on the camera. But really, really nice knife, and I highly recommend you guys go and try it out. I said that from the first impressions, and that has not changed since. So I hope I gave a bit more information on this, a bit more long-term experience with it. But hope you guys have enjoyed this because you asked for it. I've been Brian. Have a good one.